Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Coach's Corner University podcast. I am your host, Paul O'Neid, and today I'm joined by my friend, Nick Bagley. Nick is a coach, personal trainer, and bodybuilder. He is one of the most knowledgeable people that I know in the sense that he can communicate very simple or very complex concepts in a simple way to pretty much anyone who's put in front of him, which is a quality that I very much respect and admire. So, Nick, thank you very much for coming on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me, dude. I appreciate it.
My
It means a
pleasure.
lot.
Fresh off of vacation, which for those of you in
Oh
the
yeah.
coaching realm, that's a time where you actually don't do work and you go somewhere and relax. That's RELAX, relax. How was
Somebody
that?
write that down for me. Yeah, dude, it's the first trip I've gone on in 2 years that wasn't fitness related. And like every trip that I've done, like I've traveled a bunch in the last 2 years, but like it's always been the same thing of like, all right, I'm going to travel as soon as I get there. I'm going to hit the grocery store. I'm going to get my meals. I'm going to get my clients done. I'm going to do my workouts. Like it's all still been it's the same thing that I do here, just at a different location.
Right.
So it's the first time where I said fuck it to everything, like a diet, a training session. Like we worked out one time while we were there. I left my phone in the room most of the time that we were gone, and I had a couple of clients who were in prep that I'd still had to communicate with, and
For sure.
I told everybody else to leave me alone for a bit. But I feel fucking fantastic coming back from that. So
That's the
it was
best.
nice.
That's something that's I mean, before meeting Liv, I never went on vacation. And it's something that travel is very important to her. So one thing that we do is twice a year, we go on vacation. And depending on what time of year it is, like we might still train, we might not, but like we just don't work. We take the entire week off. I mean, one of our trips this year was our wedding, so it's kind of important. But we went out to Halifax on the east coast of Canada last year. We went to Panama on vacation once. Went to New York City. Actually, New York City, we still worked. But we try to travel and we try to like get out and just not. Oh, we went on a cruise and I gained 12 pounds in 7 days. Did
I
you
was
get
just
super
coming. I
fat?
was No, I was just coming off of off season, so it was kind of nice of like we had food really high at that time. So
Mhm.
coming off of off season, it was like it gave me just kind of time just not worry about food for a bit, which was really nice. So I actually lost weight while we were gone. Yeah,
That's
yeah, so
foreign.
it was
Completely
yeah, it was
foreign to me.
nice. Huh?
It's completely foreign to me. Losing weight while you're gone. I'm a big like dessert
I've got a
accompaniment
terrible
kind of
stomach.
guy.
I've got a terrible stomach. Like as soon as like the food starts to get like even slightly uh dirty, I just start having all sorts of issues like appetite issues and diarrhea and all that kind of stuff. So
You got to push
I
through
can
it.
only go so hard.
You got to push through it. You just go past it.
On the other side of it is
On
when
the
it
other
all
side of
clears
it.
up,
Yeah, you
right?
just
Yeah,
gotta
yeah,
trudge through that hard times, and then it's right into flavor country.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh, I still had pizza and ice cream and all that shit. Like I
Okay,
still ate it, but it's like I can only do so much of it
fair enough. Fair enough.
before I
So,
hate myself and I cry.
so you're coming out of an off season. Are you gonna pick a show, or are you just gonna do like a little bit of a cleanup and then?
No, so I'm taking the year off. I mean, like I've touched on it a few times in like posts and podcasts and stuff like that, but like my focus on bodybuilding is not about like what show can I win or what or getting a pro card or going to the Olympia. It's like the realistic side of things is like that's just not going to happen for me. Like I
Mhm.
don't even know if I have what it takes to go pro just with my structure and things like that
Mhm.
without having to go to like aggressive extremes, right? Like I don't have the best appetite in the world. Like if I had a better appetite, I'd be a much better bodybuilder. I'd be a lot bigger than I am now. And I'm a pretty tall person. So like
Yeah,
I'm
you
six
are.
foot, 6'1", right?
Yeah.
So for me to compete with people at a higher level, I'm gonna have to be really, really, really fucking big. And
Yeah.
I don't have any desire to be that big, to be completely honest. And like my weight cap for classic isn't high enough for me to look the way I need to in classic. So like I'm in this weird middle spot. Um, but we're going to take the year to like push up as much as we can. So we're just going into like a holding phase for right now, kind of health phase, whatnot. And then we'll push again and maybe end up having a third push this year before we choose something in 2025. Um, or maybe even further. Like I really don't even have any particular plans. It's like the focus right now is being a dad and being a business owner, and like
Yeah.
building the coaching and building that reputation and stuff. But I don't know how people serial prep. I really don't. I've never understood the people who can do
Yeah.
an off season for like 3 months and then they're right back in prep. It's like when I do these things, it's like I go all in to the point where it's like I'm gonna put that down for a bit. I'm gonna leave that over there.
I mean, it took me over a year to recover from my prep. Legitimately, like physically, it took me over a year to recover.
I've told Hunter a number of times, it's like, I do not envy you. Like, it's so cool that you get to make your living as a bodybuilder, but it's also fucking awful that you get to make your living as a bodybuilder. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it's not something I envy. It's not something I would want to do, right? Because it's like, first off, you're under scrutiny constantly. It's like
Yeah.
everybody either loves you or hates you. And the way the internet is everybody wants to talk shit about you all the time.
Yeah.
And then like the option to go on vacation like I just did is much less limited. Like, and then he
Yeah.
has to compete
Yeah.
at least like once a year, right? To stay relevant in that realm. Um, and so like my friends that make a living bodybuilding, it's like, bro, yeah, my heart goes out to you. Y'all are stronger than I am, because I would fail.
Well, one thing that you said that really resonated with me and kind of is echoed by a lot of the way that I view my own competitions now. It's like it's a vehicle for personal development, right? It's like how hard can I push myself to be the best version of myself that I can be? And I knew when I did my show I wasn't going to win, right? Like I'm built like a hotel mini fridge. Like I'm not there is no there's no shape to my physique. Um, I knew I would be big and I knew I could get conditioned, but I didn't have any delusions of winning. So, and I kind of look at my powerlifting career much in the same way now because I'm not competitive with the best guys in the world anymore. I was at one time. I had my run, but now it's just can I continue to be better than my previous version of self? And I feel as though the clients that you work with, the vast majority, I'm sure, are using this competitive endeavor for that same reason, right? It's personal development. Is that something that you speak about with them often and kind of use your experiences to help the clients
All
that
the
you
time.
work with? Yeah.
All the time. It's something I would touch on a regular basis, where it's like, look, I've got a couple of guys who could turn pro and be very good pros. I've got three people in mind that it's like those guys, there's two guys and a female that's like they could go pro and do really well. But
Mhm.
like the rest of them, it's like, hey, I want to test myself, right? So it's like when they
Yeah.
come to me and say that, it's like, cool, that's great. Keep that mindset, because when you're 6 weeks out, you're going to be like, I think the test is over. It's like, but the thing to me is like, I've got a client that's Muslim, and it's Ramadan right now, right? And
Mhm.
like we had the same conversation where it's like the world has become a comfortable place, right? Like everything is easy for us. Everything is like Amazon. I can order something right now and it'll be at my door in a few hours. Like I can DoorDash some food to my house. I could, like, if I didn't want to leave my house, I could probably just stay here all day, right?
Mhm.
So like we live in a society where just everything is easy. So these, whether it's powerlifting or bodybuilding or Ramadan or like whatever it is, like making these manufactured time periods that test you when no one's watching, I think is a very important thing, right? And I
Yeah.
think it's lacking in a lot of people's just like personal lives, right? It's like back when we would be in tribes and stuff, men would go through some type of ritual, right? Of like going into manhood. And like we don't have that anymore, right? There is not a thing like that anymore. So like,
Mhm.
not to say that you being a bodybuilder is going to make you a better man,
We could.
but it could for sure. But if your only focus in bodybuilding is how many trophies can I accumulate,
Mm.
or how many placings can I get, or how high can I get with this, like you're going to be disappointed more often than not, right? Because every single one of these shows, one person wins, a singular person wins. And like, sure, there is a number of shows right now. Like, if you wanted to compete from the beginning of the year to the end of the year in Texas, you could, and you could probably win a good handful of those, right? But like, there's thousands of people who want to compete in that time period.
Hmm.
And to think that you're going to go into every show possible and win everything is just not likely, unless you're someone who's going to skyrocket themselves to the Olympia, right? Which in that case, it's pretty fucking obvious that, oh yeah, that guy's going to destroy everyone, right? But if your whole investment into this is like, or your whole reward is centered around a trophy that's going to collect dust, it's like you're missing the point.
Yeah.
You're missing a big aspect to this that could just make you a better individual, not necessarily just like physically.
That resonates with me a lot because I think a lot of these hardships that we manufacture for ourselves, even training, like in general, just training is a manufactured stress. If you're doing it for some external goal, you are missing the real benefit of it. You're missing what it could actually add to your life. Um, and I think, I say this because I think you and I are very close in age. So it's like I started training before social media. I started lifting weights before, and I even knew and competing against even knowing who was going to show up. If social media disappeared, I'd still be in the gym. I don't think a lot of people view training that same way, view their own competitions that same way, and it almost saddens me because I think they're missing out on the real benefits of the hardships that we manufacture for ourselves. Um, let's talk a little bit about how you got into bodybuilding, how you got into personal training, and then kind of your journey to where you are now, having, I guess, three revenue verticals, I guess it would be coaching,
Yeah.
personal training, and uh, what would be the other one? Two.
It's mostly just coaching and personal
Coaching.
training.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was in ROTC in in high school. So I was in
Okay.
junior ROTC in high school, and that's where I started on like the physical fitness team. So the physical fitness team was like we met once a week and we would do body weight workouts and stuff. And there was a contest at the end, like there was contests across the year that we would go and compete against other schools. So my working out started off with that of like I wanted to join that team and be part of it. And like I made a lot of friends during that time. And my friends that were in that were also going to the gym and lifting. And my mom has always been on me about like when I was younger, like, hey, you want to go with me to the gym? Like she would always do it. And
Cool.
like before I started the RTC stuff, I'd be like, no, mom, I'm playing Call of Duty. Like, leave me alone. But then when all my friends were going to the gym, that's when I was like, yeah, I want to go to the gym now. So and then it was like a few weeks before college. I remember going to her and going like, I don't want to be the skinny kid at school because like again, I'm a tall person and I wasn't built big. Like I've been asked a million times, oh yeah, I bet you played football in high school. Fuck no, I was scrawny. So I told my mom I didn't want to be the skinny kid anymore. And like, of course, just like any teenager, I convinced her to take me to GNC and buy a mass gainer, thinking that that was going to change my life. But like that's kind of where things started. I made some friends in college that were one of my homies, Tristan, was into powerlifting. We started working out together, and I got this idea in my head of like men's physique because he was doing powerlifting, and it's like, oh, it's cool. He's got something to like work towards at the gym. It's like I like to work out, but it'd be cool to have something to try, something to work on. And so just kind of got into it that way. Started making connections in North Carolina where I was. I got connected with my first coach. Not the best experience as far as coaching is concerned, but it got me on stage. And
Mhm.
while I looked awful, I got dead last. I was just too small, man. It was just like I had the bug of like, okay, there's this thing that I can try. There's this thing that I can do. And
Pursue.
yeah, exactly. And I can get better at this. And it was just kind of off to the races from there. Just kept on going with it. I competed all throughout college. So I think every year I was in college after it was like, so my first show was in my sophomore year of college. And then every year after that, I competed. And I was in college for 5 years because I started off as a computer science major, which was terrible. And then switched. So all 4 years I did a show while in school. And none of them did I do well. None of them did I look good.
But you didn't care
But
about
right, I had the bug and I
it.
was doing it right. And then flash forward, got out of college, was still doing the fitness thing, trying to figure out what to do with my life, and went through a bad breakup and came out to Texas visiting a homie from college. And I just got this like overwhelming sense that I needed to be here. And then like just it developed more and more from there. I realized how big fitness was here and how big bodybuilding was here. And I was like, well, this is where I need to be, you know? So it's kind of where it started and the roots to where I am now.
Well, I mean, to be at destination is probably, as a young personal trainer, to be surrounded by pros every single day is probably quite a surreal atmosphere.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, so when I moved to Texas, I didn't start at Destination. I actually started at LA Fitness.
Oh, okay.
Right, but I was working out at Destination, and when I first initially came to visit, I had sent them an email about like I'm moving to the area and I want to be a trainer, but they were like, "Oh, cool, that's great. We're all independent trainers, so like you can apply and speak with the owner, but it's all on you." And at that time, like I didn't have a network. I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
I hadn't been training anybody. I'd been working out myself and like I'd helped some friends here and there, giving advice and like, just like any kid, any mid 20-year-old dude that's been working out a little bit and been on stage a little bit, I thought I knew what I was doing. So like I'd helped some people here and there. Um, but had never done it completely in person. So I was like, I don't think I can do the independent thing. Like
It's
I just
tough.
don't know anyone, so I need to get some experience.
Well,
So
for
I
those
started off at,
people, so sorry to interrupt, but like,
you're
I mean,
good.
we need to stop on that because I don't think people give credit where credit's due to trainers who actually have built their network and built a practice within a gym on their own without the help of the gym feeding them clients. That shit is a grind.
Yep.
It is a grind. So
Yep.
obviously that's why a lot of coaches, a lot of personal trainers will start at a commercial gym because they have a steady stream of clients to pull from.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, and like that kind of like bleeds into my journey to get to destination in the first place is like um LA Fitness is dog shit. So I got out of there and made like connections with somebody who worked at an Equinox. And
ooh, nice.
Equinox out this way is like, I mean, the one that I was at was in the middle of one of the richest neighborhoods in Dallas. And the clientele we had was just like dumb rich. So,
Dumb rich.
buddy,
Like oil chic money.
Mark Cuban's wife was there, if that just kind
Oh,
of
okay.
puts it
Yeah,
into
yeah.
perspective. So
He got
like
some money.
yeah, yeah, so dumb rich. It makes a lot of sense, you know. So it gave me a big perspective into like what does it look like to sell a package? What does it look like to like what is the highest end of what people are willing to pay for? How do I go about doing this? How do I go about structuring this? Equinox was really good in a lot of ways because it taught me that back end stuff. I didn't really get as much out of it as far as the training side of things because while they were like really excited that they had a different style of trainer, like I was very hyper focused on the and still am obviously
Mhm.
physique side of like building muscle and that sort of thing. They're
Yeah.
very focused on like what they call functional training, right? Whatever you want to put that label on their
Yeah.
ass, right? Like that's what Equinox's thing is. So it's like they were like, cool, that's really good, but you should also try these things over here, and like would kind of shift me away from what I was trying to do. And like there's definitely some validity to those things, but it's just not what I want to do for a living. But it taught me like the ins and outs of like what are people willing to pay? How do I sell? How do I do this? Like it taught me all those
Mhm.
things. And then good old COVID came around, and Equinox was super, super awesome, and they paid us
Oh, wow.
throughout that time. It was a reduced amount. Like
Of course.
but I got paid every 2 weeks while I was there. And then I was also bouncing at the time. So like as soon as bars were open
Naturally.
back up, I was bouncing and literally like walking out with handfuls of money, like fistfuls of money. Once the bars opened back up. Um, and that kind of gave me a cushion enough to where like when everything opened back up, I went back to Equinox. I was ready to work again, but we weren't really getting a lot of traffic. The traffic we were getting was either people who had been with a trainer for years already, or they were that member that legit had been there since day one, that basically lived in the gym, and they weren't going to be sold by anybody. Like they've seen a million trainers come through and every trainer's spoken to them and none of them have sold them.
Right.
So it's like there wasn't a lot of pickings, and me and one of the managers were just butting heads really hard, and she would not let up. And I am uh, hard headed, and so her being down my throat had me pushing back really hard, and
Of course.
it just got to a point where it escalated to upper management, and they were doing everything they could to try and fix things, but she was not giving up. So I finally just told them like, look, I gotta go. I can't do this. If you guys are
Sure.
gonna keep her, if she's going to stay here, I'm not going to.
Mhm.
And the part that you were talking about with like being an independent trainer is a grind. In the meeting that I had with this, so she was a regular gym manager. She had one person above her and then another person above them. I was
Okay.
speaking with that guy.
Yeah.
That guy ran like a whole bunch of different Equinoxes. Like he was a manager of multiple different locations across the country.
Okay.
I was speaking with somebody very high up, right? And um, through the conversation, he got to a point where he's like, "Well, it sounds like there's nothing I can do to convince you to stay." And I told him, I was like, "There's not. Like, I'm pretty much made up my mind. It's like I'm here to let you know that this individual is ruining this place, and this is why."
Mm.
But one of the things he told me was like, "Hey, when a trainer leaves Equinox, if they decide to come back, we will usually take them on, but we have been instructed that since we paid you through COVID, if you decide to leave now, you will not be allowed to come back. This is your only chance." And he told me, he's like, I've been doing this for decades. I've been here for a long time. I've had conversations very similar to this where people want to go independent and do their thing. He said 85 to 90% of those people end up back in my office begging for their job back. And I looked at him, I
Surprise me in
said,
the least.
huh?
That doesn't surprise me in the least, man.
Right. And I looked at him and I said, I really appreciate your honesty. I really appreciate you telling me that because it definitely puts it in perspective of like what I need to get done. But I promise you will never see me again. And he hasn't, and he
Good for
won't.
you, man.
So
Yeah.
it's like it's one of those things where it's like people don't realize that how difficult it is when you are not being fed those things and you don't have that funnel of a commercial gym that is literally handing you people going, hey, look, this person might want to buy, right? Like people just show up to the gym and it's on me to develop a relationship enough to where they want to hand me their hard-earned money. That's not an easy task.
Especially at a gym like Equinox where the price point's probably pretty steep.
Right. Well, at this point I'm talking independent like a destination, right?
Right.
But yes, for sure it's not wasn't easy to do at Equinox either.
Yeah. Um, so let me ask you this. So this puts us at, the period where you leave Equinox, you're getting ready to go to destination. At what point did you really, because you're someone who I know has dove in quite deep into continuing education. At what point did you start investing into your education throughout this process? Because, I mean, you start off as just a kid who was competing, helping his friends. When did you take it to that next level to say, hey, I want to be a subject matter expert in this area?
I've always been interested in like learning about stuff, but like to really take the steps forward. The first thing that I can tell you that I really like dove headfirst into was Prescript.
Okay.
And I don't remember. I was listening to Jordan Shallow's podcast, RX Muscle. Shout out Jordan, the
Mhm.
homie. And I had been listening to his podcast for a long time, and I had heard him mention Prescript a few times. And then I think I saw an ad on Instagram or something, and I was like, screw it, let's give it a shot. Like I need to do something. I need to get better at this. I need to like really become the best version of a trainer that I can be. And I'm not going to do that based off just my own experience.
For sure.
And uh I was already at destination when I decided to make like start with Prescript,
Hmm.
and I just dove it headfirst into like how good can I get at training? How good can I get at teaching people how to lift? And then I will develop everything else around that, right? So it's like just hard focusing on like let me become an expert in just the personal training, and then I will develop everything else as I go along. So Prescript was kind of the first place that I really started doing a lot of continuing education, and then it was like as I would go along, I would make more connections with other coaches and other trainers, and I would ask them questions like, "Hey, well, where did you learn your stuff? Where did you learn about this?" And like I would get suggestions about different courses and different programs and whatnot. And like I went to college. I have a 4-year degree in kinesiology, and like uh, I don't use any of it. And like NASM is the same way, right? It's like the only reason I have my NASM is because it's accredited and it
You have
means something.
liability insurance.
Exactly, right. So it's like I have to have it basically is kind of the only reason I still keep it. If I'm going to train people in person, I have to have it.
Right.
Like Prescript alone is as amazing as the certification is, it's not accredited, so it's not recognized.
Right.
So I can't just have that and train people in person. Um, but I knew that it was like, I mean, NASM was just another regurgitation of what I learned in the 4 years that I spent in college. It was just all the same stuff, and it was like, this is horseshit. Like this stuff sucks. Like none of this makes sense. They don't put it together in a cohesive manner that like my brain clicks with.
Right.
And like as like Jordan is, I feel like he gets pigeonholed into a position where people think that the only thing he can do is speak really intelligently and like talk about these really high level concepts, because like the dude casually in conversation just has some of the biggest words fall out of his mouth, and I'm like,
Yeah.
hey bro, hey, slow down. Like and that's just Jordan. It's not like he's not putting on a facade. He's not putting on this thing of like, oh, I have to sound smart and say these words. It's just how Jordan speaks because of what he's been doing for the last fucking decade or however long he's been doing this, right? But Jordan does a really good job of like doing two things. Is one, he's gonna tell you how fucking he's gonna tell you the really complicated thing, but then also tell you how to connect it to what you're trying to do. Right. He's
Yeah.
really good at that. And then two, he's really good at connecting and making people laugh. Right. That there is such a massive thing because, dude, I don't know about you. College was boring as fuck to me, right? If those teachers had made me laugh, I probably would have been more engaged, right? I probably would have been more like willing to do some stuff because, like, cool, at least I'm entertained and not just being like read from a book or read from a PowerPoint. Like, this shit just drives
Yeah.
me nuts. So, the way he presented things was just like, bro, it just clicked. Like, it took me a little while to get it, but like, once it started clicking and I could understand him a little bit better, I was like, dude, this just it blew my mind. It completely changed how I look at training, and has changed how I look at training in all aspects still to this day. Um, so that was kind of like the first thing there, and then it was just diving more into finding other what other people had done that helped them be successful.
Yeah. One thing I actually really appreciate about Jordan is he's very good at organizing things into different structures and hierarchies to make it really easy to follow. Um, he was one of the first people who was talking about runways of progression and scaling and progressing different movements based on capabilities or desired outcomes. And I've known Jordan for like 10, 12 years, something like that. But he's like what he's built with Prescript is amazing. I hope to, one day emulate that with Coach's Corner. But what are some other, like, if we were to give like top three educational opportunities for personal trainers wanting to build their uh, their knowledge base in hypertrophy training?
In
Well,
training alone,
no, and then anything related to, we'll say bodybuilding.
The three biggest areas that I have like learned the most from is Prescript. I've got 5 certifications from them.
Oh, wow.
So Prescript, I've just learned a tremendous ton about. Like they have multiple levels of training, multiple different types of training focuses, and then they also added in like some nutrition courses and such as well. Like uh, Dr. Jackson, Dr.
Yep.
Dwayne Jackson does a nutrition course with them, and I did that one. So there's a bunch of things that I did there. So Prescript is like a really good place to go. They're always having different courses and seminars and stuff like popping up. So like Prescript, I'm going to sing their praises all day because they've kind of put me where I am now. I work with a mentor every week, so I work with someone one on one.
That's awesome.
Dom Kuza,
Yep.
and the dude, like he's one of Matt Jansen's coaches, and the guy is one of the most intelligent people I've ever had the opportunity to like speak with, and about like a wide variety of things. Like just the amount of knowledge that he just like casually just drops out of his head is like how do you remember these things without having like a notebook in front of you on a regular basis? But he's just a wealth of knowledge. And like yeah, I started working with him directly after my last show because the biggest thing is like shifting focus to something else for me after a show.
Yep.
So I started working with him right away, and I had prep clients, and he was like, we were doing our courses and going through different things, but he would also be there for me to bounce ideas off of like, hey, look, this is what I want to do with this individual. What are your thoughts? And like we would have discourse over like basically one of my clients, and I would go, look, this is what I'm seeing, this is what's happening, show him pictures, show their profile, show everything I'm doing, and he just talk me through it and like go through these different situations. So finding someone that like you can mentor with, that has been there for a long period of time and been doing this thing, that has some don't just go to a guy like, oh, I want to learn from you, that he's got zero structure, and you show up on the call, he's like, what do you want to know? Like that doesn't make any sense. But like Dom has done a great job of like structuring a full program. Like you don't have to do one-on-one with him. So he's got multiple different things there. So you said 3, but those are kind of my main 2 that I look at, is Prescript and then finding some type of mentor. Like I've worked with Austin Stout as well.
Yeah.
Austin Stout, Dom Kuza. I mean, there's a bunch of different people doing all sorts of different mentorships. J3U, I'll throw that one out there.
Yep.
There's a third one. J3U is another really good opportunity because it's an app. It's on your phone. It's broken down into multiple different categories. John Jewett specifically, I love him to death. John is a really good guy. I think John is incredibly intelligent. And he did a great job kind of putting that whole thing together. And I know they're continuing to evolve and build out their J3U stuff.
Yep.
So that's definitely a very good resource there if you don't have the money to like pay for a mentor specifically. Like it's a fairly affordable course because you don't have to have the individual in front of you, right?
Yeah, when I will second J3U. I thought it was a very well put together course, robust, like has you go through J3U and you take in all the information, you have a lot of knowledge to put into practice. And
It covers the basics. It covers like I think that there are some limits to J3U with
as with anything.
regards, right. And like I understand why there's limits, right? Because it's like you can't sell it to the masses when you have to go into like the extremes of what bodybuilding is, right? Like there are certain scenarios where like, yeah, we want to be as safe as possible, but like when we're playing a game of extremes, we have to play a game of extremes. So it's like it's
Well,
much easier for him to sell like the kind of middle ground, right? So I definitely think that there's other things that you can learn, but if you go through J3U and really absorb that information, you're going to walk away being a better coach, 100%.
well, from a marketing standpoint too, they just launched a level 2. So I mean, you gotta structure it in levels
100%,
if you
dude.
want your company to grow and continue to scale.
Right.
That's one thing I don't think. I think people will look at a course like that with the background knowledge of, marketing a product. The thing is, if say you market your coaching, that's a service that you sell to somebody on a month over month basis. It's a relationship that you're building. When you're selling a product, you can only sell it to one person one time. So unless you're coming out with more products, and the only way to come out with more products is to leave gaps in the previous products that the new products fill. Um, I mean, that's just that's just smart marketing. And I think they
Yeah,
do a
for
great
sure.
job with the different modules, especially the female module was very well put together. Um,
Fantastic.
so let's get a little bit into the nuts and bolts of what it is that you do right now, because you're someone who I think when we met, you might have had 2 or 3 thousand followers on social media. Now you're well into are you almost at 20,000, aren't you?
Yeah, it's like 18 something.
Yeah. So I mean, so you went from 3,000 to 18. You've also now created a network that includes high-level IFBB pros, a 212 champion, a top five Olympian. Like, what has been this, if there is one, what has been the strategy that you've used just to continue to build that network and get involved in these circles?
You know, the thing that I think has helped me the most is that I never went into a situation where I was going to meet one of these pros trying to get something out of them,
Mm,
right? And the nor did I go into a situation going, look, this is what I know. Let me show you all these things that I know. I went into a situation just trying to fucking meet that person. Hey, what's up, man? It's nice to meet you. I'm Nick. I'm a trainer here. Like, where are you from? How many dogs you got? Like, how are your kids? Like,
you have to
just
ask about the dogs.
yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Like just becoming friends with them and understanding that like the short-term gain of going up to one of those people and trying to see what you can get from them in that moment means nothing in comparison to just like getting to know that person,
Yeah.
right? So like two of my closest friends who are in that realm of what you're speaking about are Keon Pearson and Hunter Labrada, right?
Mm,
And Hunter specifically, like he came in with Brian back in the day when they were training together, and like for 100% in my head, I was like freaking out a little bit, but I was just like, all right, just say hi and fuck off. Like I'm gonna go over here.
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I would kind of have a little conversation with him, then I'd go away, then I'd have a little conversation and like wait for him to come back. And like I never asked for his number, I never asked for something, I never was like, oh, follow me on Instagram or can I take a selfie or whatever. It's just like just asking him a question, going, hey, cool, what's up, man? I want anyone to show up that comes to the gym and not go, oh fuck, there's Nick. Oh no, I don't want to talk to that guy. It's like I want them to show up and just be excited, like, hey, what's up, dude? It's good to see you again. You know, like,
Of
and that
course.
is all I need. I don't need them to give me something because what are they going to give me that's going to change my life? Nothing, right? Like their relationship and being able to like call that person a friend is the thing they can give me,
100%. Yeah.
right? So it's not like they're going to give me something that is going to outweigh the relationship, right? So like Hunter had already met me, and then along the way, his wife, Liv, I've known for like 6, 7 years before they got married. Like I knew her well before. So she had moved out to Texas, was staying at my apartment at the time, and like just trying to get out of North Carolina like I had been. And her and Hunter had started talking and whatnot. And then they developed a relationship. And then I ended up developing more of a relationship because I knew Liv. I was very close
Right.
to Liv. And then the relationship blossomed from there where I got a DM from Hunter one day going, hey man, I'm launching a supplement program or a supplement line, and I want you to be one of the first athletes. And I remember like screenshotting, going to all my friends, like, holy shit, look at this, like
That's fucking
freaking
cool,
out. I was
man.
like, this is crazy, and so it's like I never went into it going, oh yeah, Hunter's gonna give me a supplement contract someday. Hunter's gonna do this for me. Hunter's gonna do that for me. Oh, Hunter knows that I'm this good of a trainer. It's like I just was myself, and along
Mhm.
the way, it was like, oh, hey, cool, I have this cool thing that might help you out a little bit. Like, can I show you something that might be beneficial? Yeah, cool, man. Let me hear it. He'd try it and go, wow, that's really good. Well, what else do you have? Well, what else do you have? To now, like, there's been multiple times where I've gone out to Houston. He goes, dude, I have a question for you about my programming. What do you think about XYZ? And me and him sit there and just shoot the shit about his programming. Like, that's an Olympian. That's a dude. He's like sixth, seventh in the world. Like that guy's
Yeah.
asking me about training. Like, what are we talking about? So it's like that never would have happened if I had gone into it going, dude, let me take a selfie with you. Let me post this thing on Instagram. Let me get something from you. It's like he's never going to want to do that if the only thing I have to offer is a fanboy, right? And
Hmm.
it's the same way with Keon, right? Like the me and Keon's relationship is much more interesting because I'd actually run into him hungover as fuck like a few years prior to that, and he
He
had come
was
out.
hungover or you were hungover?
Me, this
Oh,
guy,
okay,
I was
gotcha.
fucked up. It was it was actually Patrick's Day.
Perfect.
I'd gone out the night prior with a bunch of college homies and drank and all that fun stuff, and we ran into him in an elevator in my buddy's apartment complex. And yeah, it was wild. And he was walking down the hallway and he stops the elevator, and I was like, you're Keon Pearson, right? He was like, yeah, what's up, man? So I have this god awful selfie that I love to show on a regular basis with just I look awful. It's
We'll
like you
use
can see
that. We'll
my
use
face is
that
like,
selfie as the thumbnail for this episode.
yeah, I'll send it to you. It's like just this god awful picture where like I look miserable. Like you could tell I drank the night before. And then he came out to Texas and I had heard he was coming. I was like, dude, I gotta show him that picture. Be like, hey, do you remember me? So he shows up and I showed that to him. He's like, oh shit, what's up, man? And like he had remembered me and we just kind of kicked it off that way and just started being friends. And then same thing there is like he eventually decided like, oh, I want to move to Texas. So we started hanging out more and he'd come to the house and just come chill and just uh hang out with me and my girlfriend at the time, the girlfriend that I was with at that time, and see my son and just stuff like that, where like the relationship developed outside of just like me trying to get something from him, to the point where like it was the 2022 Olympia. I got a text from him and he goes, hey man, how much do you charge for training? And I was like, oh, well, it just depends, like however many days the person wants and like whatever, like who is it? Like you can just send them my information. They can message me. He goes, nah, bro, it's for me. And like it took me a second. I was like, what? Huh? You want me to train you? What are you talking about? Like, no, you're not talking. You got the wrong number. Like, and
Who this?
no, he's like, dude, no, like I need help. He's like, I'm not in a good way, like mentally, like I need someone there to help me. And he's been very vocal about like kind of what he was going through at the time
Sure.
and like mentally not in his best spot ever, and it showed in his stage presence. It showed in what happened in the 2022 Olympia. I mean, he was 16th, right? Like Keon should never be 16th. Like
No,
yeah, like the dude's physique is not 16th place.
it's
Keon should
first
be able to
place
walk.
now.
Right, exactly. So that was where like our bond got a lot stronger, because it was like I was there for him when things were very difficult, and it was more than just like, hey, show up and I'm going to put you through a session. It was like he called me when things were bad. He called me when things were good. He texted me with this. He texted me with that. And it was like he developed that trust in that relationship. So it was like never has it ever been about like going to these people and going, look, this is what I can do for you. It's like, no, hey man, what's up, man? I'm Nick. That's it. So it's like the biggest thing that I think that we see online now is like everybody's too eager to want to say, "Oh, I know that guy. I know this guy. I know that guy." It's like, do you? Do they know you? like,
That's a better
like,
question. Do they know you?
you might have met them and you might have shaken your hand and maybe you had a conversation with them. Maybe you even went out to eat with them. But like, do they remember you? Do they have your number? Do they communicate with you regularly? Like, that's not the case with, I don't do that with every athlete that we have. Like there's a lot of people's phone numbers that I have that's, it's not like we text on a regular basis, but they know who I am and they trust me and they know like, okay, well, this cool guy, when he shows up, it's like, oh, we can be cordial and that kind of thing. Like it's not going to be that way with every person, but every person I've come in contact with is like, just treat them like another individual.
Treat them like another individual, but I think that there's a few really big rocks that we can pull from those stories. The first one is showing up in every situation as your authentic self, right? Just being who you are and understanding that we are all just people, right? Yeah, he might be Hunter Labrada, he might be Keon Pearson, but they're also just Keon and Hunter,
Yep.
right? Um, the next is not, how do I put this? Showing your passion and showing how like just genuinely excited about what it is that you do draws people in. And you and I met online and we ended up having a training session together when I came to Dallas the first time a couple years ago. And it was very obvious to me that yeah, you're a personal trainer, yeah, you're a coach, but you were just a dude who fucking loves training. I'm like, yeah, I want to spend time with that guy. And that's how I try to approach most relationships that I look to enter into is like, am I showing up as my authentic self? And then am I communicating to this person and to the world around me how excited I am to be living the life that I'm living? And that genuine positive energy brings people to you.
Yep.
Um, One thing that I've noticed, if we transition this conversation rather than towards individuals, but towards growing an audience, because ultimately, the more eyes that are on you these days, the more opportunity you have to monetize that audience eventually. You have never once compromised on who you are and what you believe in to draw an audience. It's been an authentic providing a value to your audience. And yeah, you did have the one post that went viral, or you had a collaboration with someone who had a very large number of followers, and that, but those came by proxy of what we just talked about.
100%.
What would be some maybe some lessons you've learned along the way, or some advice that you would have for a young trainer looking to build their audience? Because I mean, I've said it before, I'm never going to be a quote unquote good influencer because I don't want to do what influencers do. I just want to provide value. And that doesn't favor the algorithm, that doesn't do this, but I'm doing okay. You
Yep.
know what I mean? So
Right.
that's yeah. What would be your advice?
Don't get caught up in the hype of more followers, right? Like just because you have X number of followers doesn't mean that that X number translates to your bank account.
Oh
I
no.
know a lot of people who have a massive following who are broke as fuck.
Oh yeah.
Like you need to understand that the followers don't mean shit if they are not connected to you and willing to give you their dollars, right? So, like you said, it's like you're never gonna see me post anything that's trendy. You're never gonna see me post something that's like this is gonna get a lot of bait clicks. Like you're never gonna see that from me because that is not me. I might post some stuff here and there that's funny that might get a lot of
Yeah.
views and things like that,
I
right?
posted
Because it's
one
like, oh, I
today
had
that
a
kind of
funny
took
idea.
off and I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, right. Right, exactly. But like you're never going to see me post something that I don't stand behind. And
100%.
like one of the things that Austin Stout actually made a post about it a few weeks ago, and it was like right literally like at the same time I was kind of having the same thought process. It's like be careful what you put out to the world as who you are. It's one thing to put out something funny like every now and then, but
Mhm.
it's a whole nother thing to all of a sudden your identity is consumed in making viral content, because like next thing you know you're just every post I put up I'm in a dress because that's what's getting clicks, right? It's like because
You
now
don't have the
like
legs for it, bro.
but like what in what realm does me putting up like these weird viral dances or like these weird things to get attention or views do for me to be a better coach or trainer? Nothing.
I'll pull it further than that. What is you doing those things prepare your audience to be your client?
Right. Right. Like there's uh someone I'll just say someone I know. He's put up a few videos where they were putting out information about uh stuff for females, and he was dressing himself as a female and like giving himself fake boobs because the content was around like how you make adjustments for people with fake boobs. And I'm like, okay, it's cool. Like, yeah, cool. It might be funny once, but after the third or fourth one, it's like, bro, you gotta stop. Like, this is
Wow.
ridiculous. This doesn't make any more sense because now this, what are you gonna do? What happens if every single one of those videos, that's the only thing people want to see? Is that who you're gonna be now? The guy who puts on a top and gives yourself tits? Like, no, like I don't want to
I'd
be
honestly be
that.
worried, like in that context, I'd be more worried about like, oh, here comes another guy mansplaining about what a woman should be doing.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, sure, like there's that whole thing to it as well. But it's like, I want to make sure that I carefully audit what I put out to the world. What I
Like,
put out to the world is my reputation. And this is a job of reputation,
oh,
right? Like
100%.
if you screw up your reputation in this industry, you're screwed, man. Like like especially like right now, like we got people like Goob who are scouring the internet for every mistake someone has made. And if you end up on that dude's page, buddy, you got a problem. You fucked up, right? And this bleeds into anything that could ruin somebody's reputation. Like, what's the first thing that everybody hears about? Like, oh, the trainer and the wife, right? Like, oh, the wife cheated on her husband with the trainer. It's like, how many trainers do you know that have slept with their clients? We all know them. We all know trainers that have slept with their clients. You can at least, if you've been in this sport for long enough, you can name at least one trainer who has a reputation for sleeping with their clients.
Yeah.
I bet that trainer also doesn't have a good reputation for being a fucking trainer. Like, they've got a reputation for picking up the hot women and then fucking them. Like, that's what they have a reputation for. It's like
Yeah.
that will never be me. I will never ruin my reputation for something, for the shiny object.
Yeah.
Like
You
this
got the
shiny object that is drawing my attention.
coaches who have the reputation for pushing drugs, or the coaches who have the reputation for over dieting their people, the coaches,
100%.
well, I think reputation is a fantastic barometer for character because I mean there are very few people in this world who would have, and this is something like a point of pride. It's not something I'm boasting about, but like there's very few people in this world who would have negative things to say about me. And if they do, it's because I have pushed back against something that they've done. And I think if you look at the way you portray yourself, the way that other people interpret you online, I think that's a phenomenal way to address whether there's a gap somewhere that you can jump in and clarify. Because I don't want who I am in real life, who I am on social media, and who people think I am to be any different. I think it should be consistent across the board. And that comes back to, are you being your authentic self in everything that you're doing? Right. Um, I think the
Completely
last thing
agree.
that I wanted to touch on is a recent development in your career, and it's one I think is worth discussing because a lot of young coaches feel like they can and should do everything on their own, right? I have to have my own coaching company. I can't team up with somebody. I need to have my own voice. And for all intents and purposes, your business was moving forward in a really meaningful way. You were earning a good living, yet you recently decided to join a coaching team. And if I'm not mistaken, it's just you and another partner, right? Yeah, Saga,
Yep.
Team Saga.
Saga. Yep.
So
Team
it's
Saga.
the both of you together are the team.
Yes, sir.
So you joined with somebody else. What's the motivations there? Why, what precipitated that decision? Maybe what were the pros and cons that you weighed out?
It wasn't a decision that I took lightly. It wasn't a decision that was easy, right? And it
Mhm.
was actually like a conversation that had occurred like a while prior to us deciding to do it. He had come to me with the idea and like reached out and go, "Hey, I'd really like you to be a part of the team." And at that time, we couldn't come together as far as like what that looked like, because of just like we don't want the two different brands to clash, right? Like it needs to be a cohesive thing. Um, and at the time, we couldn't come together on it, right? And then I don't know how long later, but months or a year later or so, like he kind of circled back around on it. Was like, hey, I'd like to open that conversation again and be willing to bend a little bit if we could kind of find a happy compromise, right? And Sean is someone that I have been around for a couple of years now, at least like mostly online. Like we communicate a lot online, but we are both Labrada Pro Series athletes.
Okay.
So we do like stuff in person and whatnot. So like Sean's got a really solid reputation. He's got a very solid head on his shoulders. He's a very intelligent person. And he's someone that like I look to when it comes to like information, right? It's like I know that what Sean is going to give to me is first off solid, and I also know that it's genuine, and I
Mhm.
know that he cares, and that's a massive thing. Like we've been
Huge.
talking about, it's like,
Yeah.
um, and it's the I don't know what the fuck I'm doing when it comes to business. Like, I'm not a
I think
businessman.
most of
Like,
us are kind of figuring it out as we go, but okay,
yeah,
continue.
yeah. Like I've been fumbling around in the dark for quite a while, and it's kind of worked out well for me. But it's like if that's the case, it's like I should find someone who's pretty good at this and uh, have them help me with it, right? And Sean and I are vastly different, right? Go look at his content and go look at my content, and you're gonna go, these two guys are not the same person.
Hmm.
But that works really well,
Very well.
right? Because the thing is Sean could use less rigidity and a little bit more like flow, and I could use more structure.
Hmm.
Those two things, we mesh very well with that. So we come together very well with that, where like he can be the guy that has his scripts and puts out the very well manicured stuff that he has like honed down to a super precise thing, and I can be the guy in the background going, hey, this is what the fuck he means, right? It's like it's just it's a very good combination there of like two individuals who are vastly different that can benefit from the other, right? And we both have a similar vision of like what we want to be known for in the space and where we see like a team going, period.
Hmm.
And I think we can go a lot further together, right? It's like I do my best work with having someone to bounce ideas off of
Hmm.
versus me just like being here and doing it on my own, because it's very easy to like have an idea, be like, that's really cool, write something down, and then just like put no effort into it. But now there's somebody else there. It's like he's not necessarily watching me like an employer would. It's not like he's over my shoulder going, well, you shouldn't do that. Or like he's not instructing me on how to coach. He's not telling me that I need to change what I'm doing, because what I've been doing has been working, and what I've
Right.
been doing with my athletes is working, and coaching is working, X, Y, and Z. But it's like we're going to collaborate and build this thing together. It's like we just we just announced publicly our first like in-person seminar together, and
Hmm.
it's limited spots, but we're already almost sold out.
Good for
um,
you guys. That's
in
awesome.
the first day, right? So like that's huge, and like I've never done an in-person seminar, so the fact that like that's the case is like that's fucking incredible to me. We're doing that, and then we're doing more like team calls, and we're doing like all these extra things, and plus he has like helped enhance my back end stuff and gotten me to a point where like everything's very polished and these really cool things are being sent to my clients, and like just it's polishing things up to where it just kind of elevates it even more, right? Like I'm
Mhm.
already doing a lot of things that goes above and beyond other coaches in the space, but his extra stuff of like, hey, I've already done XYZ, here's this, and you can structure it to yourself, has helped elevate it even more. So it's like we can provide this big value to the people who want to join Team Saga, right? Because like we both have such a different perspective on a lot of different things, but at the same time have a similar outlook on like where things are going, that we can come together on it to make it a cohesive thing to push forward, that we can I think we can go a lot further together than we could separately, you know.
I love what you're saying there because that resonates so much with my situation here currently. I mean, I had Master Athletic for a long time and never brought on another coach. Liv and I started dating, and she decided that she wanted to coach full time. So when she came on board, very different, very aligned in terms of the views of how we wanted to coach clients. Her target audience is much different than mine. Her coaching style is different than mine. But the growth of the company as a whole since she came on board, it's been just almost 2 years. And it's been a year and 10 months. It's been insane. We've added four other coaches, like we've done a lot of other things. And you mentioned something that he's not looking over your shoulder like an employer. No, he's a partner. And I bet you're going to be more beholden to someone who's on your team than you would to a supervisor. So you're going to level up for him. He's going to level up for you. And then you both are going to grow.
Yep.
I also find like less so between us because we're like legitimately partners. But I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of competition between the two of you. Like, hey, like I'm going to push this envelope and then he's going to push that envelope. And again, it just levels you up even more so. And I think
Completely.
it's a phenomenal lesson for some coaches that are trying to do everything on their own, that sometimes it's just faster to let someone else be better than you at something so that you can leverage that for yourself to move forward. the coaches that we've brought on, they're all phenomenal coaches, but maybe they lack a little bit of knowledge in a certain area that I can compensate for. They all have lacked the systems and structure that I have already established. So they're leveraging my strengths to build their businesses. But master athletic performance is the one who benefits. So we all bring ourselves up.
100%.
So I think that was a very worthwhile, talking point, because I think a lot of young coaches need to hear it. And that's part of the reason why I think some people look to build teams as a revenue generation opportunity, and you'll hear some fucking ridiculous revenue splits out there. Like I remember when Liv was working for a previous nutrition coaching company, she was taking home 30% of the clients that she was working with. So the split was 70-30 for the business. I've seen 50-50 splits. I've seen, all those sorts of things. And I'm like, listen, even if the company is giving you a client, you're doing the work. So if you are looking to go on board with somebody, you make sure that revenue split works for you. And
Right.
it's not just lining the pockets of the people that you're working for, because you have value. I will also say that you and I probably are more so on the entrepreneurial side of this business. We want to grow, we want to develop, we want to continue to level up. Some people are totally fine just coaching their clients. Like one of our coaches who works with us, he loves coaching, hates business, hates marketing, hates all of the back end stuff that's involved in what he does. He is a phenomenal nutrition coach. He's worked with thousands of people over the last over a decade. He just wants to coach. So when he was at his wit's end with his previous company, he and I are friends already. I reached out. I'm like, hey, do you want to come on board? He's like, only if I can just coach. Sure, man. Come on, just coach. So now he just coaches with us. So there's all different types of symbiotic relationships.
Yep.
If you're trying to do it all on your own, I think you're like, you want to go fast, go by yourself. I don't think that's true in coaching, right? You know that old adage of, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go together. And if you want to go fast and go far, you have to go with somebody else. On your own, it's going to be a slow slog.
I mean, I think it's definitely important. Like, I don't think, just to touch on that point, is like, don't just hop onto any team, right? Like, don't just join any team possible just because it's a team name. Make sure that it's something that is going to be beneficial to you as the coach, and obviously to the company, because that's why they want to bring you on in the first place. Um, but find someone who can make you better, right? And
Yep.
then find a way to make them better, right? And that's what I think that Sean and I can do. Is like, I don't think I'm necessarily going to teach Sean anything, like not specific, maybe like
Never
maybe
know.
something here or there. Well, yeah, like I'm sure there will be things that he's like, oh, I didn't realize that. But it's like, I'm not going into this going, I'm going to teach this guy, right? But it's like, it's more or less just the fact that like having someone there that is like, again, he's not watching over my shoulder, but it's like we meet every week. I need to make sure that like I'm on top of things. I'm taking the steps. I'm doing what I'm supposed to. It's another level of like adding accountability, right?
100%.
It's like the more accountability you can have to things, the more adherent you're going to be to things, right? And like finding those that team or individual that you can work with that balances you well is very intelligent. It's the same thing of like when you look for a life partner, like you're looking to get married. It's like finding that person who helps balance you and uh helps your strengths but also helps your weaknesses too. It's like
Absolutely.
it's the same thing with business, it's the same thing with marriage, it's the same thing with all these things. It's like look for someone who's just going to make you a better person, and then in doing so everything else is going to come up, right?
So, dude,
And
love it.
I think Sean and I are aligned in a lot of manners, or in a lot of thought processes and stuff. And I've already shown him some things that he wasn't doing, that he's like he absolutely loves, like using Discord to create a community group for our athletes. Like I was doing that for my clients already, and I showed it to him. He's like, dude, this is phenomenal. Like we got to do this. And then he showed me some things that told me that I was like, oh, I definitely wasn't doing that. Like this is a great idea, right? Um, like so you can go a long way on your own for sure. And there's a
For
ton of
sure.
people who are super successful doing it. It's like I was successful on my own, but I
Same.
think like that there may be like a small step back in the beginning, but that's gonna be like you got to pull a slingshot back to make it go forward, right? It's like you got to pull an arrow back to make it go forward. It's like
Absolutely.
you gotta sometimes you do have to take that step back to take a massive leap forward. And I think with kind of what we have going on, what we're going to do with the brand and the ideas that he and I both have is like this thing's just getting started, you know. So it's really exciting. I'm really looking forward to it, and this season's going to be really good. Like I've only been a trainer since 2019, and
Mhm.
I've only been putting people on stage since like 2021.
Mhm.
So in those 3 years, I went from having like one or two people on stage to last year I had six to this year I have 13.
Oh, hell yeah.
Or sorry, I had five last year to 13 this year. So it's like it's a more than double year over year. It's like that's
That's awesome.
short to some people. They go 13, that's all he's got getting on stage. Like, yeah, cool, man. Congratulations that you have more than that. But like to me, it's great. It's like I'm
It's
super
awesome.
excited about it. Right.
It's
So it's like
awesome.
it's all contextual, right? It's like I had five last year. 13 is a big jump from that. So it's like we're definitely we're very excited for that. I know Sean's got a lot of people, so we're looking forward to kind of pushing the whole thing together. Most definitely, man.
Love it. So I like to finish with some off the cuff, ridiculous questions that just pop out of my head because I like to keep it casual.
Let's do it.
What is your favorite exercise in the gym?
Gotta be any type of row. You know, like I love something. I love back training.
Like an
There's
upper
something
back row or a lat based row?
I go upper back. I want to move some
Yeah,
weight,
yeah, for sure.
so it's like a chest, some type of chest, like a chest supported T bar or a prime row or something like that. Just grip some weight, just yank it. There's just something primal about like lifting some heavy shit.
What is the,
Dumbbell row, maybe. Yeah.
oh, I like a good step forward dumbbell row.
Yeah.
What is the weirdest prep meal combination that you got addicted to?
Oh, I don't know that I have had any weird ones. I mean, some people find it weird, this one weird, but I don't think it's strange. Is chicken, rice, banana, and peanut butter.
That is weird. What do
It's
you like?
fucking
What kind of
delicious.
sauce do you put on that?
So you don't have to put a sauce on it. Like you could, if you, the peanut butter, it can kind of be like a sauce, right?
It's melted, yeah.
Yeah. But, um, Flavor Gang Chicky Pad Thai with that meal is
Okay,
phenomenal.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
That's it's a bit off center.
Yeah. It's really good.
What is one album that if you had to listen to it front to back for a workout, what would it be?
I know the artist. I can't think of the name of I'm terrible with music, but I've got it right here. It's Currents the Way It Ends.
I dig it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And last question, if there was one person that you would like to see me interview on this podcast, who would it be? But the caveat is you have to help me get them on the podcast.
Sean would be good. Yeah,
Okay.
but Sean from Saga, have him come on and have him talk about his side of things. You know, like
I'd
just
love to.
show how different we are.
I think that'd be great. Dude, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciated the conversation. Been friends for a while, but I definitely learned some more about you. And, every time we talk, I think we just resonate on a lot of different things. And I think the biggest take home for this conversation was, the part about showing up as yourself in every situation. I think a lot of people feel pressure to put on a show, and your ability to show up as yourself in every situation is the main catalyst for the growth of yourself and your business over the 5 years that you've been doing this. So
Yep.
I will have links for the audience, all the continuing education stuff that we spoke about. Yes, I own a continuing education site. And yes, all those things are competitors to me, but yes, I will be sharing them because I believe in abundance. And I will have links to Nick, Team Saga, and everywhere you can find him in the show notes. Nick, thank you so much for joining me, man.
Of course, man. I appreciate you having me on. It was a fun conversation.
For sure. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and we'll catch you on the next one.